Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Tonight we will be helping 4 entrepreneurs. I'm privileged to have 2 other entrepreneurs also helping me help those 4 entrepreneurs. So it's a night full of entrepreneurs. Now I know a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs yourselves. I really appreciate it when you listen in, contribute. If there's any way you can also help the people we're helping this evening, it would mean a lot. In addition, just to say, if anyone out there wants to get support, has a difficult question or problem they're facing in their business, or wants to start a business and needs some help to do it, you can sign up via thepurposefulproject.com and get our help. I just pop it onto the screen. If you also want to get inspirational insights from the world's most successful entrepreneurs, you can also, of course, jump on to our podcast, which I just put up on the screen as well. And for those listening on Spotify, it's goodluckpod.com. You can grab all sorts of interesting insights there and stories of how people have made it, some fascinating insights via those podcasts. So I'm going to quickly introduce you to my entrepreneurial co-host today, Jess. Jess, welcome.
Hi.
For folks that don't know you on my channel, maybe just a 1-minute intro. Who are you?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. This is a first for me. So my name's Jess Butcher. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. So I've been working in startups and scale-ups for much of the last 20 years. I've worked on a number of fast growth businesses, most notably one of the big AR pioneering businesses called Blipper, which I grew from co-founder to a team of over 300 staff in 10 offices around the world. And we raised a lot of fundraising and were held up as something of a great sort of tech success story for the UK. I am now very much portfolio, so I work across a number of interests, from angel investing to advisory, board work and mentoring, and just love keeping my ear into the startup scene and hearing about people's great ideas, big ideas, and seeing how I might be able to assist them scale them.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening, Jess. I really appreciate you supporting this initiative. At 9 p.m., so 25 minutes from now for those folks listening in the US, we will have David Lynch joining us. He was heading up the DBS Bank Digital. DBS are seen as one of the most successful digital banks in the world. He'll be joining at 9 p.m. to also help the entrepreneurs and tell you about some of his incredible investments and how he helps founders out of Australia. So we're going to be an international crew this evening. But I think we'll bring on our first entrepreneur, Tom, who is from Notion Golf. Tom, good morning. Well, actually, I say good morning. I'm in Australia already, but good afternoon. How are you?
Not so bad, are you?
Good, good. Well, I've been reading about you, but maybe we could kick off with you telling the audience listening a little bit about yourself and then how we can help you today.
Yeah, so my name's Tom Scott, and myself, along with my colleagues Jack and Ryan, have set up a company called Notion Golf. The aim is to provide the golfing world with products which are aesthetically pleasing, but also become a part of your bag equipment. They are designed around the biomechanics of a golf swing. We've formulated our own composition of material, which is quite unique to Notion. And what we're looking for at the moment is a bit of advice on how to really approach the market aggressively. We've seen that we've produced something which is quite a niche in the industry. It's not many people doing what we're doing. We're going to be looking to do it across male, female and children, which is something which is also isn't done that much in the golfing industry. A lot of the focus is put onto the male apparel in the industry. So what we are, we're looking to get cracking and be aggressive in the market.
Cool. So what do you actually need from us today? Is it just marketing, or what's the general requirement?
No, I mean, within the business, we've got my colleague Jack Cookson. He's been in digital marketing for 8 years. So in terms of our marketing, we've got that pretty nailed down. What we are looking for is some advice on how, we're a pre-revenue startup, so we've not actually started trading yet. The goal is to begin trading on the 1st of June. What we are looking for is some advice as a pre-revenue startup. We find it quite difficult to locate or acquire some investment. What we want to do is really hit the market in really aggressively. We've had some initial interest from some big retailers across the world. We have a strategy where we can touch 17 million users on social media worldwide, and we really want to be aggressive with it. We don't just want to rely on organic growth. We've hit a niche. We've got something which we believe can be a 10, 20, 30 million dollar business within 10 years. So what we're looking for is some funding initially to help with the day-to-day runnings of the business, but also to be really aggressive our sales strategy. And we've tried a couple of different routes. We've tried the angel investor networks. we've come up short. We've tried some PE businesses and some venture capitalist outfits, but I mean, what we're doing is I think we're chucking too much at a wall. What we want to do is gain some advice on a clear path to secure initial seed funding.
Okay. Why have the angel investment network not been a hit? What was the feedback?
It wasn't necessarily not a hit. I've been on a couple of the old pitch decks, and unfortunately, the one I was on previously, to get through to the next round, I was up against somebody with a patent who was already a company generating revenue. So we came second to those guys, which is a little bit disappointing. But we just find that it's quite a long-winded process. We want to hit golf season, and we want to do it, like I say, we want to be aggressive in the marketplace, and I think that we want to explore other avenues, and maybe the angel investment networks aren't the best for us.
Okay, well, a few things spring to mind, but Jess, if you want to jump in at any point, feel free, okay? But I'll just throw a few things at you, Tom.
Yeah.
My instinct is, why not get celebrity golfers involved? Would they be good on the support side too, I would have thought. But
yeah, definitely. But I think that what we see nowadays and the way that social media has been monetized is that people are looking for monetary sponsorship as well as clothing sponsorship. For us at this point in time, it's not within our means to be able to do so. In the future, we definitely want to be a part of that. We want to have athlete accompanied to the brand, but at this moment in time, it's a struggle to reach out. A lot of people are paid a hell of a lot of money to wear brands, not necessarily because they want to, because it's beneficial for them to wear them through the monetary side. So for us, I don't think at this present time it's right.
I do play golf, but I'm not a very serious golfer. But I kind of also think that the golf clubs themselves have incredible membership, and a lot of money is involved in that membership. I mean, I lived in Hong Kong for 20 years. A membership at a Hong Kong golf club is £1 million for the basic membership, £1 million. So those folks have a lot of money, and I guess I wonder if you could tap in like a crowdfunding model, working with the golf clubs to try and rally cry, and then they would also be incentivized to sell your product in their shops.
Yeah, that's something which we're doing at the moment. We're generating active interest. We've got all our social media platforms running at the moment. In the background there, we've got some data collection facility where we collate email addresses and interest in the brand. I'm quite busy on LinkedIn with giving little snippets of our materials and what we're looking to bring to the market, giving a little bit of a brief background into how our material compositions have been created. And what we're finding is there's a hell of a lot of interest. So maybe that is something we can look at.
Can I ask, do you have stock on hand, or is this the investment is required to build up your stock?
No, potentially it could be, Jess. As I say, we've had a good couple of conversations with some big retailers, and I think that if we were to get one of those on board, the stock that we would need to buy for those guys would be quite a substantial outlay in monetary terms. So, yeah, it could potentially be. But what we want to do is we want to use the money really to launch the brand.
Right. So you're not, I was just wondering, because I want to be perfectly honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience of retail or apparel or product businesses. I've got a very sort of tech and software background, but I'm almost jealous of businesses like this, because you've got physical things that you can touch and sell and assets that, are worth something. And of the businesses that I know within that field, they tend to explore a combination of different funding options, from debt and bank loans, in order to sort of build up that stock. Have you looked into all those different options? I'm sure you have, and I don't mean to teach you to suck eggs. Yeah,
definitely. We've looked into that. I mean, the thought process behind bringing an investor on board was more than just monetary advice. Or bringing money to the party. What we want is somebody who can actually add value as a person and with experience and knowledge. I was quite clear on the angel networks. And I think this is one thing where I probably should have mentioned earlier, is that finding somebody who has that interest in golf or has that interest in retail or manufacturing abroad is quite difficult. And the angel networks were quite honest about that. Finding somebody who has a passion for golf, wants to develop apparel in golf, and also has experience of retail is quite difficult. So what we want to do is bring someone who has a passion for retail, a passion for manufacturing abroad, a passion for golf.
Have you considered finding brand ambassadors? Obviously, you're not particularly cash rich right now as a business, but you have equity, and presumably quite a lot of it if you haven't done any investment rounds. Have you considered potentially talking around partnerships to actually bring real sort of high level, excited fans into the product that can actually do that marketing and help you get it off the ground?
Yeah, we actually spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. So there's a brand called Castor who sponsor a couple of the big football teams around the world, and they had Andy Murray in. I think they had quite a hell of a substantial investment when Andy Murray came on board. So it is something we have actually discussed and spoken about. It's just finding the right person.
Yeah, a good example that springs to mind is it Gusto, the food company that worked with Joe Wicks and have got him involved. And not only do they get his advocacy, but I think he's actually put cash in as well. I mean, obviously they're further down the line than you are, but you're in a passion space. I think you just have to hit people with numbers, and unfortunately, that is going to probably mean a bit of free product going out in the short term. But if you believe in your product and you think that the experts are going to love it, then that's how you're going to build your fans, I think. And I'd almost be tempted to be spending my time down at golf clubs. Not a great time to be doing that, obviously, at the moment. But, really getting testimonials from people as they're using it, showing it, creating a buzz so that you actually hear golfers themselves saying, this is incredible. This is something really quite different, or this is something new that, they want to represent. I feel like you've probably already done that, but, there must also be VCs and angels that specialize within this area. So the other thing I would highly recommend is to network yourself within the fast growth apparel industry. And there will be networks of other entrepreneurs that are within that space that will have found each other because they'll know who the right people are to tap up. And then by building up that network, you can get warmer leads and warmer referrals to those individuals to potentially open doors and get them excited. And who knows, you only need to get a massive golf fan on the other side of that table looking at your deck and your product. And as you say, you only need one to really get excited to help kickstart that snowball. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I mean, I think what you're saying there about bringing people on board and giving a bit of equity away to potential golfer or an athlete. We've been quite lucky, really, that we've had this time throughout the pandemic to really develop the materials and really develop the brand and what we're bringing to the market. I think hadn't the pandemic occurred, would have been still 6 months behind. So we're at the point now where we've finalised our range that we're going to release hopefully in June or July. It's peak performance. It's optimum product. It's not an off the shelf mimicked or copycat product. So we can, once we're allowed to go out and see people again, I think that is something we are going to look to do. And it's one of those things where unless you actually see it and you can physically hold it, you can try it on, you can wear it out and about, you wouldn't really understand the benefits. So it is something we're looking to do, definitely. And I appreciate it. You're giving me a bit of a memory restart there for that one, because that's going to go straight down the pad.
I really like Simon's idea of crowdsourcing as well. I think that, when you've got a high passion demographic that you're hitting in this way, a super slick video that says why what you've got is so much more awesome than what's currently on the market will get all the golf nerds, and I count my husband within that, super excited.
Yeah, I mean, just to cap off, because we only have 15 minutes together, Tom, so this is really just a hello, but we can go deeper on this later. If you send us your deck, for example, maybe myself and Jess can have a little review and just have a look. I always wonder why angels say no. Sometimes it's called too tall for radio. You don't necessarily get the answer that's the truth. So why don't you send the deck over? Because if there's money to be made, investors are interested. If they think there's not money to be made, they'll say no. So I wonder what they see is missing. And so I'd like to have a look. I can see you move super fast on the marketing, by the way, because you're now on TikTok. I just saw Notion Golf come up.
Yeah, we're on TikTok.
I'm going to be your first follower. I'm now your first follower. And
Thank you for that, Simon.
TikTok, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Thank you.
But no, the other thing, before you go, Tom, I just want to make sure I categorize the potential investors for you correctly, to make sure we don't miss anything. I think you're clearly quite smart, and you've asked yourself internally this question about investors, but I just want to make sure I make it clear, I think, the different ways I would go about raising money for a business like this. As I've already said, golf fans, right? So that's one group. Now you can do that direct, or you can do that through the golf clubs, which I think is the easier way, right? That's one set of investors. Golf clubs themselves, don't underestimate them. They're retailers, you're working with them, but they might be interested in investing in owning the apparel brand, right? So just want to make sure I say that. Celebrity golfers, I totally hear you. I know they all have their own, endorsement deals and so on, but maybe you can go to the up and coming one and say, don't just get a Nike endorsement and wait for that to happen. Own the very apparel that you're going to promote. That is more powerful than just working for Nike. Maybe one day Nike cut the contract. You no longer have any income from Nike. I think there's a pitch to be made to up and coming celebrity golfers. Let's call them tier 2, could be tier 1 golfers. I would be interested if I was that profile in owning the apparel brand that I'm going to wear all the way up into the food chain, right? So just want to make sure we're not overlooking that. And then I think there's another sector which we haven't talked about, which is I've been involved in a lot of celebrity golf days, and someone paid $1.5 million to be paired to play with Tiger Woods, right? So they're just a normal person that's just done really well, like a super fan, like Jess just mentioned, but they've got money, right? And they're actually pretty prominent. You can see a lot of the YouTube videos of these guys playing golf with whoever, and you can target those people. They've got money, they love golf, they're super fans. They might like to invest in this and even get the money in your bank to get someone like Tiger Woods to drop Nike and make you the product, right? And then the final thing I'm going to say as a conclusion on this, right? I don't think you necessarily need to sell equity. I really think you've got an opportunity, as Jess quite rightly said, with product businesses to go a little deeper on the crowdfunding through things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Now, I'm sure you've looked at it, but I really think that could be brilliant for you because you've got product you can send people. You're not selling any equity and you can get the money in to lift up distribution. It's kind of the dream structure. Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Have you looked at both of them?
I haven't, but I'm definitely going to do after this call.
Yeah, I don't think you need to sell equity. Product businesses, as Jess said, I dream of good product businesses as well. If you can get that right, you don't need to sell equity. You just need to sell a lot of product, okay?
Yeah.
And then the final thing I'll say is there are suppliers of products, right? So, for example, one company off the top of my head is called Li & Fong. They are actually the company that supplies Walmart and all these big brands with their product. They have an investment division, Google it. They would be interested in investing in something like this because they're getting cut out by the retailers going direct to factories now, but they're cash rich, right? So they might like to back an apparel brand. They did do this and got David Beckham involved in a shoe brand, for example. So there's some precedent there, but maybe look into that. Li & Fong, Google them.
Is that a Leon as in the name, Simon?
Lifung,
Yeah.
Li & Fong.
I'll give them a look.
All right, that's it for today, Tom. I hope it was
Thank
useful.
you. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Stay in touch, mate. Greg, thanks for being patient. Are you there? Your mic's up. Your mic's off.
Yes. Hello, Jess. Hello, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, Greg. Why don't you start off by just telling Jess, myself, and the audience listening a little bit about yourself for a minute, and then let us know how we can help you.
Okay, yes, sure. So I'm Greg. I'm founder of Mentorist. It's a mobile application where we help people to apply strategies from self-help and business books. So it's like mobile application that you could use after reading a good book. You want to put this into your life, and the application has everything what you would need, like the book summary, concrete action list, and the tools that will help you to acquire this. And we developed this application, and we got quite nice traction, and in such a way that actually we are profitable from Facebook advertisement. Everything what we put, all money that we put on Facebook, we have return of investment within second month. So it's in 1 year when the renewals will come, we have a clear profit. And this caused us to go to the next step, because until now we all been financed by ourselves and like small angel rounds, and now I'm looking seriously for angel investment, and no angel, like more like a VC, like more money, And so I'm actually Polish. My company is registered in Estonia, and I'm exploring different options in Europe. Somewhere there in the future, of course, probably I will go to the US, register company in Delaware, but right now Europe is my goal. And so the main question I have to you is, I heard a lot about the investment opportunities in the UK. I heard about this ACE and SACE, and I know actually I'm able to move my company to the UK and be applicable for this says a tax relief. However, this is a big step for me because first of all, I don't have many contacts in the UK, so I don't know how probable it is that I will get investment there. And second, if I leave the European Union, I will kind of close the door for many funds here because a lot of funds here, they have money from the European Union and they can invest only in the startups that are here locally. So I would like to just a little bit better understand how probable, what are my opportunities of finding investment if I decide not to move my company yet, or maybe should I risk and just go for it and just move to the UK and be focused over there. So why this is important to me? Because actually my application is only for English speaking market. So somewhere there in the future, obviously I will have to be based in the UK or in the US. So, but I'm not sure if this is the right moment for me, simply saying.
I don't know enough about whether you should move or not to the UK on this. Jess, do you have any experience?
So I've raised money at a very similar stage to you and had a lot of conversations with European VCs. The first thing I would say is I did have a chance to look at your product before we got on the call, and I love it. I think it's very, very investable, and I think it's very exciting to the pre-seed and seed investors. It looks very slick, and you've already demonstrated that you found product market fit. That is tick. The next question is, who are you? How credible are you and your team? And convincing them that you're the people to scale this, which I'm sure you'd be able to do. I would say that the UK industry is very buoyant at the moment for early stage investment. And yes, the SEIS and EIS is very attractive for the angel market as well. But I do know of a lot of interesting early stage funds that are based in Europe as well that invest Europe wide. I don't think you necessarily need to move to the UK. A lot of the European funds are biting the hand off English language apps, and when we were raising, they were desperate to get us to fly out, and they're doing a lot of their fundraising now like this, over Zoom. I think perhaps what you're lacking is network, and that is challenging. But I do know, for example, that there's a lot of really great investors in Lisbon. That's a big center for tech investment right now, as is Berlin. There's a lot of interesting early stage investment over there, and in lots of different centers actually. The challenge is how you break in and make those introductions effectively. But I think with a really solid deck. Have you done any outreach just yet?
Yes, absolutely. Not in the UK, but in the Europe, yes. And yes, there are quite a few funds interested. So yeah.
Bear in mind, you can approach UK funds without having to be in the UK. I mean, you won't qualify for the SEIS or EIS incentives, but if you're talking to VC funds, that tends to be less an incentive for them anyway. There are funds that specialize in those type of constructed investments. But a lot of the pre-seed funds in the UK, they're investing across Europe irrespective. I mean, you would get access to their UK and US market knowledge and the English language market knowledge. But, I certainly know of the ones that I'm familiar with that they invest across the whole of Europe. So don't over-egg the SEIS, EIS side of things. That's more an incentive for the UK investor than it is necessarily for the investment vehicle itself. Simon, sorry, I don't know if you had anything to add on that.
No, I was just Googling Crunchbase and looking at Estonian startups that have got investment, and there's a lot. And you can actually see, have you looked on Crunchbase? Have you looked at the Estonian startups on Crunchbase?
I'm actually, yes, I'm also contacting them. Yes, some of the investors.
Because basically all the investors that have invested in those Estonian companies are listed on Crunchbase. So there's your, I can see at least 1,000 companies right now that they're leads for you because they have taken the plunge and invested in Estonian businesses. And there's even on this list, I can see, the EU executive agency, a government office that's invested in businesses, right? So they've invested and probably made introductions. I noticed SOS Ventures have made the founder of that was actually on my podcast recently. I could probably introduce you to those guys. But there's the typical starters as well as some accelerators on there. They're clearly, I think right now the accelerators you don't have to fly there anymore, which is good. Y Combinator and Techstars have virtual accelerators now. So you wouldn't need to live there, but you could enter their program and then they could introduce you to investors.
Yeah, actually, I will be participating in one of the hackathon there in 1 week. And the hackathon will end with some kind of pitch to investors.
Virtual, right?
So if I have we don't have much time. Can I ask one more question? One more short question?
Of course.
So I'm talking to one VC, and he proposed me. I'm asking about the supervisory board. So he gave me a contract where there will be 3 people in the supervisory board: me, him, and the third person will be the specialist in the industry. And what I worry about is that if he will choose the specialist in the industry, it will be like his man. I feel like I will be giving control over the company to him just after the first investment, after the seed round. And is it like a standard practice with VC investment or what?
Yes,
No.
go ahead.
No. The critical word for me there is advisory board. An advisory board is not a board. It's a board, that should be there to support and help build your business. It's not the decision-making governance board. No company at this stage really needs a board, so to speak. And it also depends on how the expert is termed. If they are a sort of watching board member as opposed to an actual functional board member, a non-exec director, then they don't have any rights. It doesn't really matter who's on your board as long as you understand the voting rights effectively. And at this stage, no company before a Series A really has a very formal board anyway. It's just not required. You've got you and your cap table. And ultimately, the early stage investors want you to feel as empowered as possible. The only time that board conflicts comes into place is when you're past your sort of Series B or Series C. So no, you should not be offering voting rights or be outnumbered on any board at this stage of your journey. I would be a bit suspicious of that, if I'm perfectly honest. An advisory board, absolutely, take all the advice and industry help that you can get, because that person, is just motivated to help you want to grow the business. It's all about veto decision making and rights that you need to be careful about contractually.
Because it's like supervisory board, and actually in the agreement it's clearly stated that all the decision, like where the funds should be allocated, will be made by the supervisory board.
No, there's something wrong there.
Supervisory board. That sounds like a proper board to me, and I would be very, very careful about entering into an agreement like that at this stage.
Yeah.
That sounds very, very controlling at a point at which you don't want to give away the control of your company. I never say that because I'm never that strong on something, but that rings real alarm bells to me. I've got to be honest.
I would make sure there's not a misunderstanding, because I think Jess and I would need to see the paperwork to make a good decision around this, because this could be very delicate. First of all, this is live broadcast, right? So your investor might be listening to this. So I don't want to scare them away. And I would say, if they were listening, that they want to support you as a founder to make the business work. That's their aim, right? So if they want to make the business work, and that means making sure that they let the founders do their job. So no investor worth their salt ever wants to take power away from a founder unless they're looking to take control of the company. And that is a different type of investor. That is not someone backing you. That is someone trying to take over your business, right? So just understand the difference. And I would have a frank conversation with the investor. I'm not saying it's not about, for me, it's never even about what's best practice. I've done very weird deals with people that are not industry practice because I trust them, right? So I think that's the important piece here. They've got to trust you and you've got to trust them. What you don't want is controls in place that are going to stop you spending the money you need to spend, that you're raising, to do the things you need to do. And having some outside party deciding how the money gets spent is definitely a red flag, and that will not be good for the business. That will slow things down. So that I would look carefully at that. Maybe there's just a misunderstanding. Is it a well-known investor? Is it someone with a track record. Maybe you should check with the companies they've invested in previously, get some references. Those are the things I think you need to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm.
Okay, that will be then all from me. Thank you for asking my questions.
If you want to send over that document, again, I don't want to offer up Jess this time. I'm happy to look at it and see if there's anything particularly weird about it, or if it's just a misunderstanding. It's good to have an investor, right? So,
as long as it's not in Estonian.
well, yeah.
No. So maybe I will not disclose exactly where they are from. So,
well, yeah.
I don't comment on that.
You know, sometimes for this broadcast, I have also used this broadcast as a way of educating investors as well, right? I mean, when I made my first investment, I made so many mistakes. Often investors don't know what they're doing accidentally. So sometimes these things are also about helping them understand how to empower a founder, right? Unless they're buying the company and want control, that's a different model, right? Well, that sounds like they're trying to invest in you running the business. Why would they then put controls in place to stop you doing that, right? So if they're listening, this is education maybe for them. They don't sound like an experienced investor from what I'm hearing. So that's not good for them or you, because the business won't work.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they invested in a few startups, but I also feel a little bit different than usual Western investor. Okay, if I would be happy to send you more details once, actually, like in 1 week, once I actually I'm more certain if this deal will go through or not.
Mm. But I would just say what Jess said. I think your product is really awesome. How much are you raising?
€500,000.
Yeah, I think you're going to get it. That's my instinct. You just need to build a pipeline and kind of be a bit hungry.
It's a hot market right now. It's so hot. App-based learning and short-form bite-sized learning. I mean, you know what you've got there. You've got a combination of Blinkist and a productivity tool, which are two of the hottest app categories right now. And I know, because I was trying to build a product like that for a long time and failed, but I certainly saw the interest from the investor side. So good luck. I really wish you well with it. It's an exciting product.
Thank you very much. Well, maybe if you know some interested investor in this exact space, you can forward them to me.
Well, stay in touch. These are just 15-minute chats to get to know you and for you to get to know us. So this isn't the end. You stay in our ecosystem and let us know how we can help you, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
See you, Greg. David is here. David, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
You see, I already said good morning, thinking Australia. I said good morning to someone in England. This is Jess, by the way. Jess, this is David.
Hello.
Jess is my new friend, who's an amazing entrepreneur, and David is my old friend, who's an amazing entrepreneur. And so it's two worlds coming together here. But David and I invested in a business together. We worked on building an accelerator together with a bank, and now he's a fitness freak living in Australia, aren't you?
Gee, I've never been called a fitness freak before, but it kind of played out that way, I think, during COVID. So yes, slightly true there. Nice to meet you, Jess.
I am not a fitness freak.
Yeah, a bit early in the morning for me to have a glass of wine, but I'll save that for
too early. It's 8 o'clock somewhere, David. Mm-hmm. So our next entrepreneur that we're going to help is Claire, and she's patiently waiting. So I'm going to bring her up. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
You have 3 entrepreneurs here to help you.
Amazing.
And a couple of hundred people listening in. So why don't you tell us what you're doing and how we can help you today?
Cool. So I founded a company called Not Only Pink Blue, and it's an online marketplace for children's clothes, books and toys. And it's specifically to challenge stereotypes. Lots of reasons for that. But one of the kind of key motivators is obviously there are lots of issues that are caused by stereotypes and the way that we stereotype our children from birth, actually pre-birth, but that's a bit of a longer story. But, as soon as they come into the world, they are immediately into this set of stereotypes. And unfortunately, that leads to some of the things we see right now, some of the things that we're challenging. And most of my career, I've been in advertising, and I was in an agency and quite senior in that agency. And I had conversations every day about the fact that there aren't enough senior females, right? Not just in our agency, but also client side. And then equally, we had government and charity clients who were telling us they were seeing the highest young male suicide rate they'd ever seen. And so we were obviously tackling that adult level, but I was at that point starting to have my own children. So I was doing research into kids. And I was finding that by 7 years old, girls have lost their confidence, pretty much believe that boys are better than them at everything, which is simply not true, obviously. And that boys believe that the only acceptable emotion that they can show is anger by 7. And so I was like, okay, well, we've already got issues, right? So we might be trying to counter this at adult level, but we need to start actually at the beginning. And then you get into books and clothes and slogans and colours and toys. And actually, it's just quite horrific, quite frankly. And so where I got to was actually, I'm not going to write books or make toys or clothes. And there are loads of brilliant people out there doing that already. And maybe I could be the place that people are coming to if they are worried about this. And they can shop, not by boy, girl, but shop by activity, attitude, and things like that. We know that parents are worried about it. 60% of parents are worried about stereotypes, the stereotypes their children are exposed to. And fundamentally, I truly believe that if we don't change buying behaviour, we won't change those stereotypes, because you automatically fall into that world, whether you want to or not, because you don't have time to shop in either side of the shop, or you refilter everything online, which is what you have to do. Often you're forced boy, girl. So that's kind of the premise behind it. Everyone on there is a small business producing brilliant quality products. We meet every partner, look at all the products to make sure that they're great. And I guess, so I'm at startup stage, right? So I have essentially created an MVP just to make sure it works. We went live last year, right in the middle of lockdown, which wasn't obviously the plan, but that's how it worked out. And I guess what I want to talk to you about is kind of growing the business. And I'm bootstrapped at the moment, obviously, and actually looking for investment. So I'm not anywhere near VCs and things like that, but actually in terms of options, I guess. So a few people have said to me, oh yeah, go and get a grant, because there are loads of business grants for female businesses. And it's like, I mean, I've done lots of searching, I can't find them. So, and then I look at crowdfunding. Is that a good option? Not necessarily equity, but a crowdfund. It's quite it's a social kind of business. This is about changing society. So I guess there's lots of questions for me about, in order to grow, I will at some point need investment, not huge, but I will need some. And so I guess it's navigating that world, and that's kind of where my question lies.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old boy, so I'm experiencing this myself. But I'm racking my brain. I don't know if Jess and David, you want to jump in at all. But I'm thinking about, like, when you say you're raising money, when you need to raise money, how much do you need to raise, and what would you spend the money on out of interest?
So there's a few things. There is some stuff I would like to do. There's a bit of kind of back-end coding I'd like to do to get some of the things a little bit better. So some of it's kind of technical. More of it will be about bringing a couple of people on to help, and then also getting the message out there. So some of it will be about, marketing as well.
Are you a sole founder?
Yeah.
You are. So it's just you at the moment that's bootstrapped
Yeah.
and created a marketplace. And have you done that with by buying tech in, or have you built your platform yourself?
No, so I had a developer create the platform, yeah.
I think you're probably looking at angels, or potentially you might want to consider some of the accelerator programs as well.
Yeah.
There are some interesting sort of more socially focused accelerator programs that obviously, predictably, I can't think of the name of right now, but I've come across them on my radar, and businesses that have a strong social purpose of this kind, that are tapping into this appetite for sort of slightly more sort of social activist type models, because there's definite demand there. I think you're hitting a market that's really ready for this, and your PR and the community building potential that you have around it is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But it's not a tech business; it's a tech-enabled business.
Yes.
And with the VCs and that sort of funding requires you to be a sort of very, very scalable tech business, whereas you've got more of a not on the high street type marketplace model, which has got a very slick brand wrapper and a great way to acquire people into your marketplace, but doesn't necessarily require huge amounts of money. It's mostly to brand build and community build, and let people know that you're there,
Yes.
that money is required. Are you open to an accelerator? Because as a sole founder, I think, and as you say you've got a background in advertising and marketing. You know, I often do recommend that first-time founders doing this for the first time, the accelerators can be fabulous places to build community and to find experts within them who can really support with marketing strategies and product buying strategies and the investment roller coaster that you may go on. Bethnal Green Ventures is one that does spring to mind. I'm trying to think about it off the top of my head. I can't, unfortunately, but I'll happily give it some more thought and connect with you and fire across anything else. And I don't know whether you were able to listen to our previous call, but I think an element of crowdfunding actually might be interesting to you. The platforms that Simon mentioned earlier, you know, people want to feel part of a very mission-orientated business like this. And I think finding your champions and making them feel part of that journey could be very compelling. I'm conscious I'll let someone else jump in.
Claire, just wanted to understand, are you focused purely on the UK market, or have you got ambitions for more of a regional global market that you're flying into?
So currently I'm UK, but absolutely. I mean, this for me is it's an issue everywhere, right? And certainly pretty much every Western country that's how we shop. That's how products are created. I mean, that's driven by the shopping, right? So if we can, well, it's not, it was created by them, but then it's driven the shopping, and then that's become a habitual way of shopping. So yeah, I would love this to, in fact, almost I kind of don't want to be able to have to be here. I would rather that we were literally pushing this across everywhere. But yes, I've got big ambitions for this. This is about the mission massively. So, you know, this brand is not just about this marketplace. It is bigger.
Very good. I might just share a story with you, Jess. One of the early stage things that I did with Simon, Simon came to me with an idea to do a corporate accelerator program. And I think a lot of that was founded on the principle that a lot of the big brands actually want to be doing the right thing. They want to be going into new markets. They want to be going after these sort of identity or passion-based businesses that yours clearly is. Knowing how to tap their innovation funds or their accelerator funds is the real challenge. And sometimes it's just about finding inside those organizations who are the entrepreneurs that have the ability to identify those funds. So if I was a big fashion brand and I was looking at some of the statistics that you just spoke about, I'd be super interested in actually understanding a couple of things. You know, number one, does your business have the ability to execute well? Have you got signs of early traction? Is there a program that they have internally, or a program that they'd love to start, but they maybe haven't yet started, where they can allocate just a small amount of their funds to a business like yours? And I wouldn't be shy at all by looking down that angle at some of those brands that might have an interest in your business purpose. I think that's one of the channels that's very much available there. And I think also, as you said, Jess's idea around crowdfunding, you know, so many people these days are so much more aware of these identity issues and the stereotypes that are created in early youth or adolescence. So I would imagine that you would appeal to a huge audience with your business purpose.
Yeah, I like the idea of strategic investment. I think that's a great one. The other thing is there are some lovely female angel communities growing up. And, you know, I think women investors would be very motivated by this. So if you're not looking for a high six figures, if you're looking for sort of checks of 10, 20, 30K, and 3 or 4 of those will help you do your marketing job. I think that reaching out to some of these female angel networks could be very a great opportunity for you.
Do you know any names of any?
There's one called Angel Academy there, and they have an open application process. Academy is spelled ACADEME, based in the UK, run by a girl called, a very impressive lady, I should say, called Sarah Turner. And they're all female angels that they are working with there. So they're definitely worth an application.
Thank you.
There's a couple of things I'll add. I always like to think a little bit differently. So I'm not saying these are good ideas. They're just ideas. Okay, Claire. So based on things that I've experienced that have worked for me, one is write down the things that you would spend the money on, right? Yeah. And then see if you can actually bring people in to help you do those things. In other words, right now, there are a lot of talented programmers around. I agree, this is a tech-enabled business, this isn't a tech business. Yes. We still need a tech person maybe to support you. If that's what money was going to be put into. And I want to be careful with stereotypes myself around this, but there are a lot of talented people that are part-time parents that might have some spare time to help you do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm co-parenting with my wife. I take 3 days a week. My wife takes 3 days a week. That means I have 3 days a week to work on something. Now I found my something, and it's here right now with you, right? But there are a lot of people that haven't found that something, and they might like to help you. I would do a post out for some of those job roles, right? You're applying to job roles, and then as you're talking to people, say, look, do you want to, instead of taking salary, can you take a bit of equity? Can you maybe there's some angle on that. Has worked for me. I have done that personally, and it's worked for me. Even on what I'm building now, I've got 2 people that are managing my TikTok account right now that are working for me for free. So a shout out to them for work. They're helping me for free because they believe in the mission, and you have a mission.
Yeah.
Right? You have a mission that's very powerful. A lot of people will care about your mission, would have had life experiences that are not good because of the things you're talking about. So I think and then I just want to throw another wacky idea out there, and Dave just mentioned it. David and I built an accelerator program, and a lot of the companies that initially came into the program thought that the bank that David was heading up at the time, the tech he was heading up, was a competitor, and they weren't. And so I want to suggest to you something crazy. I think you should reach out to Etsy. I always say the name wrong. I think you should reach out to Etsy. I'm just looking on their website. They don't have a section based on what you're talking about, and I think it could be. I reckon they would consider one or two things if you approach them. They copy you, and you know what happens if they copy you? Your mission still gets delivered to the market.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about having a purpose-driven business, right?
Yeah.
You would have still made change happen. Right?
Yeah.
The second thing is, and my instinct working with people like David, and actually they'll go, wow, this person, we should back them. We should make this a part of what we do, and we should back Claire, right? And so I've seen that. I sold my last company to PwC under a very similar situation. They wanted to create a creative marketing department, and so instead of trying to build it themselves, they said, well, just buy Simon's company. Right? Not that you want to sell your company, but conceptually, right? It actually could be really big for them to do it. They should. I see them as your competition, actually.
Yeah.
And they could power up the tech, and you'd be the front end PR on it. I think it could be powerful.
Yeah.
Worth a try, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then on a micro level, just to finalize before we move on to Siddhar, who's waiting in the waiting room. Just to finalize, I do think there are a huge amount of groups on things like Facebook, like Mumsnet, for example, is a good example of that. I'm actually interviewing the founder of Mumsnet on my podcast show in 2 weeks' time. She's an incredible individual, but basically groups like that, getting the founder of Mumsnet as an investor, by the way, could be pretty amazing. But I also think being a part of the community in those groups and beginning a little group of your own that could be the beginnings of a crowdfunding group that are passionate about this subject.
Yeah.
I think that, again, I've seen it done. If you have a Facebook group of 100 people and you ask them all to put £1,000 into an important cause with a commercial upside, there's a lot of people that would do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't even need a crowdfunding site for me to I can visualize a group of people that care about this subject, supporting you, even adding time to your platform, helping you in the platform build up. So that's just some ideas, Claire. I know they're not all traditional, but just throwing it out there.
No, it's great. It's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, and if you want to go to Australia, David's your man. Can make it happen.
I will do. I'll get there.
Australia must be we'll travel again.
Yeah.
Australia must be hot on this subject, I would have thought. But Claire, nice to meet you. Please stay in our ecosystem. This is just a quick chat today, okay? But we're here to help you. So thanks for reaching out.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Last but not least for us this evening, Siddhar. Am I saying your name right?
No, it's Sikandar.
Sikandar. Thank you.
Like Alexander.
It gets me every time, but I try hard.
That was
Welcome to the room. I feel like I'm in Clubhouse now. Welcome on stage. Would you like to tell the audience listening, and David, Jess, and myself, a little bit about what you're doing and how we can help you?
sure. Basically, I came across this potential issue that was seen coding for merchants because I originally come up from a background of a service apartments where we operate in UK currently in 4 locations: Leeds, Manchester, Suffolk Keys, and Newport, Wales. But what I've seen, there's a lot of issue with the chargeback because of fraud and transaction happening online. So what I've seen, like in the past, like, you know, there's no like a real instant time reply to that, you know, where the merchants are suffering a lot of time where they can't find out if it's a fraudulent transaction or not a fraudulent transaction, because online, anyone behind the computer could be misusing somebody else's card and everything. So I came with a solution that, you know, what I went over the last two years, I've been looking at what's the Visa requirement, what's the MasterCard requirements, people like Stripe, WillPay, how do they treat chargeback and everything, and how do they verify that if the claim is false or not false. And I managed to come up with a pattern and make sure how to resolve this issue as well, where my system is now basically, it's on the paper at the moment, but where we're trying to give a real-time instant decision for the merchants where they could decide if this transaction is a fraudulent or not fraudulent, and either to provide the product or service to the third party, the client on there. So, you know, now in modern world, the consumer is always covered. So for example, if it's your Simon card and somebody else misused it, you could just ring your bank up and get that money back. The only people who are really suffering are the merchants people, because once that money is being charged and the service or the product has left their office or their factory or their depot, they can't get that product or service back, but the money could be reversed back. But a lot of people have been suffering that for the quite a lot, and the merchants are getting especially affected, especially due to the COVID-19, where lockdown has happened and retails are basically had to shut down. A lot of people, most of everyone's have to go online, and where basically they are suffering on that basis. That's where I introduced a called ChargeFrog app, where it integrates with the consumer and also the merchant, where instantly, simultaneously, it gets a decision from the consumer, which forwards it to the merchants, verifying that if this card has been verified and it's a genuine transaction, and if it's not been verified and it's not a genuine transaction, we still send a confirmation to the merchant saying that, you know, this payment needs to be declined, reverse it back, and do not send your product out to them until it's not being verified by the client.
So Kendra,
Okay, so go ahead, David. You're fintech. I know you know this. Go ahead.
yeah, exactly. I think Sikandar, I came from a background where I used to manage a large portion of the credit card business for a couple of large banks, and fraud prevention is a massive issue. I would say
Correct.
one of the key requirements in this industry to be successful against all the AI and machine learning solutions that are out there is really being very clear on how you're differentiated, because if you can quantify the impact that you can have on fraud and show that out in a proven use case, irrespective of how much effort you've put into developing that AI, even in a small scale trial, your ability to quantify that and attract investment is certainly there. So I'm actually interested, Sikandar, where do you need help? What's the help are you looking for your
To
business?
be honest, what I need is basically, because I need investment to make the software, because I've been, for the last 12 months, 18 months, I've been speaking to the different people, like the software developers, the marketing team, and also integrate with like Stripe, WillPay, and also with the Visa, MasterCard through their API codes as well, where we could get the real-time instant transaction, because of opening banking, that's made it much life easier, where we could verify the consumer as well, that if this person is the genuine card holder as well. And when basically what we're trying to do is that through Stripe, WillPay, and all this, when they integrate with the system, instant decisions are coming from the consumer, coming back to ChargeFrog, and then forwarded straight away to the consumer merchant as well, where they could look at the real-time decision straight away that this card is a transaction. So I'll give you a little example. What we're trying to do is that basically, let's say Simon's purchased, like, booked an apartment like with us in Manchester, in UK. So for his parents or his staff, or whoever he wants to say, he books online and everything. The hotel receives the card details. At the moment, the payment's not being processed, because sometimes, most of the time, the payment get processed near the time. when the check-in dates is. So what happens in that situation? The hotel people process the payments nearer the time. If Simon can't turn up, but his staff turns up, he does not bring the card detail, neither his ID, to verify that card details for him. So that could be a potential of a charge fraud, chargeback at the end of the day. But with the charge fraud, what will happen? Because Simon's already downloaded the chargeback with us, and we're already integrated with Visa and MasterCard as well, a code will go to Simon, which is currently happening for the consumer side, but nothing's happening for the merchants people, where basically a lot of money has been getting lost at the end of the day. So when that code comes to ChargeFrog, that this Simon has verified the transaction, and it's being verified, we automatically send out email confirmation, basically confirming that Simon has verified, everything's been confirmed, that there's no need to be verifying this gentleman twice when he arrives or any third parties arriving, and the payment could be processed, and this product and the service could be delivered. In case by chance, if there's any chargeback, Simon does dispute that payment for any reason, like he might just forget, like, I can't remember this transaction, what is it for? We have the record documents there on our system on the ChargeFrog, where we could give it to the bank, or like the WillPay or the Stripe, saying that, here's the document that's been verified and everything, that prevents the ChargeFrog from them, which lose the money. The merchant doesn't need to lose the money.
Got it. And you see the investment that you're looking for is going to be in the AI machine learning that sits inside your application. Is that where your point of differentiation is?
Sorry, could you repeat that again, David?
Do you see that the AI and machine learning that sits within your application is where your point of differentiation is, and the speed in which you can provide that back to the merchant?
Correct. Correct. That is because what is it now? People are so much like real time. They want instant. No one's like to wait, after 2 days or 3 days. They want instant decisions straight away to make their business, because they have too much thing going on to grow their business. This is where we come and help them and protect them for that. Because at the end of the day, if you're looking at the sources right now, what I have basically in 2020 annually, there's already a charge for a transaction happening of $31 billion. This industry, but by 2025 it'll increase to $44 billion. So you could see the growth of that, what our people are doing, because what is it? There's not only chargeback basically on a fraudulent transaction where people are seriously using it, but there's a different type of charge fraud as well, where people do friendly as well. So you could create a pattern and have a relationship with the online banking system, where basically you could say that this consumer has been applying charge fraud back in the past, but he has been doing it on delivery cases. That where our system will create that algorithm and start seeing those patterns.
With respect to where you're taking this, just getting a little bit here, but have you been able to prove this out in any sort of small scale trial, irrespective of where your technology's at, or are you at an earlier stage in that where you?
We're really early stage, but what I've seen, because of my previous experience from the hotel industry, because I'm from hotel industry, what I've seen, whenever we had a chargeback, we knew what the documents they were asking for all the time. And in the beginning, for example, like in the chargeback, when a consumer downloads our app, what will happen? They will verify their details by putting their driving license, passport, and verifying through opening banking their card details. When that information is verified, that gets stored in our system at the end of the day. Then we will be also, when we be basically connecting with Stripe and WillPay as well, right? These merchant people. Then whenever they need those merchants require those information, we have it already stored there, and we have a transaction verified code as well for every single transaction, which is doing online. Because, for example, I don't know at the moment in America at the moment it's not chip and pin, but in UK it's chip and pin at the moment with all debit credit card. If you do a transaction by doing your chip and pin card, you don't need to verify that, because at the end of the day that's your own fault if you had given it your PIN number 4-digit to someone else, like your partner or your friend, family member. But online, there's no security at the moment with the way it's going at the moment. It's a crazy world out there.
Very good. This is a little bit of advice. I think you've got a great idea. There's no doubt if you go to countries like Israel, there are a lot of people there trying to solve this fraud problem. There's some very robust solutions that are kind of enterprise grade at the moment that the big card processors and payment acquirers currently use. I think you're on the right track, looking to find an API integration with some of the big payment processors. You've mentioned some of those as well. I think the key for me in terms of your ability to attract interest or investment is either finding someone in the industry that is really suffering from this chargeback problem and showing a proof point around how you can reduce the fraud rate. Now, either that can be done by getting some upfront investment in building out your MVP, or alternatively to that, you can do some back testing. So if you can demonstrate, even without a working prototype, you can back test against an historical list of transactions and demonstrate that with your approach, with your technology, you could show a demonstrable reduction in fraud. That's something extremely powerful, because it's so easy to quantify the impact when you've got these transaction flows.
At the moment, what we're doing, sorry, David, at the moment, because of our location, we're doing it manually. So where basically when a person comes in, we verify the details straight away, and we haven't minimized the chargebacks a lot, to be honest. So for the last 8 years, I'll say we have dropped down from what we were initially quite a lot. Every other day we used to get like a letter coming from the chargeback industry, like, the Stripe or the merchant people saying that, there's an application for a chargeback, could you provide the document? When we saw that pattern, we have basically minimized that down to 1%, I'll say. That's the only time when we lose, when we bought a new staff on site and then we need to train them up. Then when he or she oversights the documents, and then by error, mistake of human error, then that's the only time they win the application of the chargeback. But what we've seen, that when the money application, what we have done, we created that. What we're trying to do, that money will make it into instant, real time, and quick decision into a technology version for that. So people stop wasting time and basically losing money as well.
Just Simon.
Yeah, no, I just I know you're the expert on this stuff, David, but Jess, do you have any feedback coming through for some reason? Maybe.
Sorry, Zach.
I think you've got some feedback coming through your side, but maybe turn your volume down a bit. Jess, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I'm very conscious that this is not a world I know that well, so I hesitate to give too much advice. Frankly, I'm just shocked at the scale of the problem here, which I had no sense of. And it sounds like you really, really know what you're talking about and have come up with a product that that there'll be people biting your arm off if you can actually solve that problem for them. So that's very exciting. I would only have questions that we probably don't have time for today that are more around who you are and your team, and are you the product guy? In which case, have you given thought to a marketing sort of end of what you're doing that can do some of the things potentially that David was talking about in terms of building a business case and a strategy around, really propositioning this in an incredibly obvious, no-brainer way to your target audience? Because I think, that's what I struggle to hear a little bit. I heard a huge problem and what sounds like an incredible solution, but I think that, to my mind, if you want to go for investment, that needs to be very, very slick and straightforward and obvious and a no-brainer. And then you will build a business case and attract investment on the basis of the numbers that David talked, the proof points, and the ability to package that story in a way that people just think, Christ, why has no one invented this yet? Because after everything you said, I kind of got there. But, it's because you are so excited about this problem. I've thought about it so long and hard. I think perhaps, having somebody that decomplicates that story to make it accessible, you may already have that person, which is why this perhaps isn't the right forum or time to have that. But it's just something that I would have wanted to explore further.
Yeah, to be honest, this chargeback has been, obviously, as you guys much better and experienced than me, they know that because chargeback has been existing for many decades, only the consumer would be able to basically apply for it. I say the merchant, in a way, they're being the victim, and they're being the silent victim. And they say that we have no voice and no hearing there until we don't have any proof documents or verification that this has happened to us. And because at the end of the day, worst concern for me is that I'd rather have my room empty instead of having someone staying in there and then find out 2 days or 3 days down the line that it's like a fraudulent card, someone's misused it at the end of the day. And then it's horrible, because now you have to refund the money, you lost the service of that night, and then you have to pay chargeback fees as well on top of that.
Sure. Analogy. Yes.
David, you mentioned a few people in Israel. Which companies were you had a thought in your head, if you don't mind sharing that?
Obviously, solutions like Falcon that are used very heavily by the card processors. There's NICE systems, if you're familiar with them. They do slightly different things. You know, NICE systems is probably more on things like blacklist checking, those types of things. So, by the sounds of it, I think what you're looking to build, Sikander, it's an enrichment service for data where you're taking additional data points as proof of authenticity of a transaction. And here in Australia, I can't remember the name, but there's a listed company that is in the blockchain space that's doing payment enrichment, for example, where they're looking at overseas payments on the SWIFT network and finding out ways to add additional data points to those SWIFT transactions in a way to provide an immutable record that transaction is actually authentic and not fraudulent. You're looking at more of a point of sale example of that. So there are some companies out there adjacent to where you're heading that have sort of solved the problem that you're talking about. They may have approached the market in a slightly different way, but I'd be happy to dig that company up as a reference point for something you can look at.
That'd be great if you can, Dave.
So just to conclude, Candela, we'll put you into our group, okay? And then David will send the information. I'll drop it into our group for you, okay?
That'd be great.
Honestly, I lined up David to hear your story. When I saw your request for help, I knew David. If there's anyone that can help you, I knew it would be David. I'm a bit like Jess. I'm not totally au fait with what you're doing. I get it, but I would agree with Jess as well that you need to sometimes make it a lot simpler for those that don't understand. Sure. And just simplifying it, because I want to give you some helpful advice, and I'm not sure the thing I'm thinking is going to be helpful, but all I was thinking about was maybe Marriott hotels have this problem, and that's a massive hotel chain that could back your solution because they don't that problem, right? And so, if you're experiencing as a small hotelier or accommodation owner, they would be experiencing it at a mass scale. So,
correct.
But I'm not 100% sure I 100% understand it to say, is that a good idea for you to go after a company like that to back you? I don't know.
Well, to be honest, if I get into if I do get the investment and I could get integrated to Stripe or WillPay, that will smooth the information process quite a lot with big merchants, big companies and small companies at the end of the day, because a lot of people nowadays want instant transaction where they don't want manual process and don't want to recruit more stuff on top of the work what they're doing right now. They just want to, okay, if there's an email coming, we could just set up an email account and just keep an eye on it and make sure if it's accepted, decline, accept, and just keep an eye on the red button. That's all we need to do.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. I guess what David said earlier, which I think is gold. You've got a bit of feedback on your sound that side, by the way, so I'm finding it hard to hear my own voice. But I think what David said earlier is really crucial. And having worked with David with quite a lot of startups, I think basically if you can get a proof point that you are able to reduce fraud, whether that's for the consumers or for the merchants, that's huge. If you can build a case study around your experience, that's what I think investors would invest in. They'd invest in a scalable version of that. I think that's what corporations would invest in. So maybe work on a case study showing how you've saved pain at scale eventually, potentially, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I also say, Sikander, don't be afraid. We're all looking for the digital experience, and obviously for your business to scale, you've got to be able to either use APIs or plugins to inject your programmatic logic into the transaction flows. But don't be afraid of a manual process to demonstrate.
No, we're not afraid. We got that option as well, open as well. We got the both option. We're saying that initially it started with manual. Yeah. But if we could get the API code if you got the green light, by all means, we'll integrate. If not, then we'll be still pushing it with the manual at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, and I'm putting my old bank hat on. If you came and pitched to me when I was sitting inside the bank and you were able to articulate to me, your merchant side, you're representing the typical merchant that experiences X% fraud in their transaction flows. You've demonstrated, let's call it even in a lab environment. You taking Simon's example, Marriott hotels, you looked at a month's worth of transactions. Through your process, you'll be able to reduce the amount of fraud from, say, 1% to 0.3%. That 0.7% is very, very tangible, and it's something that becomes a marketing advantage. So All you need at that point is to get people to buy into the fact that with some investment in technology, you can build a scalable version that is going to reduce that fraud rate, and that can be quantified, very, very quickly. You'd be crazy not to invest in something like that. So that's probably the piece that I'm looking for the most. It's that proof point matched to where the fraud is occurring, finding the merchants that are suffering most at the moment from this issue, and using that as a basis through which to really justify the investment in your business and being able to scale that up.
Definitely. I made a note of quite a lot there, to be honest. I'm going to basically, I'm not going to sleep all night, to be honest. I'm going to just jump on some case study and try to see, where can I jump on now straight away?
Well, reach back out once you've had a chance to digest what's being shared and let us know how we can help. I don't know if, David, you still speak to Pashish, do you? The CEO of DBS. I'm sure you're still friends, right?
You mean Piyush? To be honest, I see a lot more of Piyush on CNN these days. He pops up very frequently, actually.
He does. He likes. But you got me a meeting with him. So David got me a meeting with the CEO of DBS Bank. DBS Bank is pretty much one of the most successful banks in Asia, leading in digital. And David got me a meeting with the CEO, and we did a big deal together. So, you're sitting in a room with people that can help you. I think just articulating what you actually need and making sure you get facts that help us take you to the next level is important. So go away, do get some sleep, right? Do get some sleep. But do circle back when you've had a chance to digest and see if you can present something a bit more coherent that we can then help you with next step, all right?
That'd be great.
One last thing, Sikander, I just want to offer you a bit of personal assistance. The last one of these I did with Simon. I had quite a bit of offline follow-up with the founder. Mm-hmm. Some of those things will materialize into something, some of them won't, but I'll get your contact details and see if we can work together to refine your concept a little bit and shape it, and let's see where we go to from there.
That'd be great.
Great. Well, pleasure to have you here. Thank you for reaching out, and
likewise.
It's been useful.
Yes, it's definitely useful. It's my first experience, but it's an amazing experience, to be honest.
Great, wonderful. Nice to see you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
See you. David and Jess, thank you so much for giving up some of your time this evening and chatting. I really appreciate it. I know, Jess, you've got to go and drink some wine.
I don't really bless you. You had half a glass.
Are you going to go on Clubhouse now or what?
No, never drink in Clubhouse. That's my rule. I haven't literally only had half a glass. Obviously, I am going to go and have a listen and see what's going on. The room I just saw is the royal family racist, which I don't have an opinion on. I don't need to go into rooms in which I don't have an opinion. But I love this, Simon. I thought that was really great session.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Well, we're still live. So, I'm glad you said that instead of Simon. That was absolute rubbish. I'm never doing it again because we're still live. Thanks for saying that. David, do you have to go? I'd actually like to catch up with you. Do you have to go?
No, I can stay on for a bit.
I'm going to go.
Right.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed that.
I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday at the dinosaur park. We can't say where in case we get stalked, but we'll see you then.
Nice to meet you, Jess.
Bye, Jess. David, let me finish the broadcast and then I'll come back to you, okay? Hold on a sec. That's it, folks. That's our professional end to a professional broadcast. I hope you liked the stories of the 4 entrepreneurs we've had on this evening. If you have an opinion on what those entrepreneurs could be doing to improve their business, Gemma, I did see you, by the way, just to say I did see your comments. John, thank you for being here. Alex, awesome to see you. Edward, Martin, all of you guys and girls, thank you so much for joining the broadcast this evening and contributing. Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at midday, where we will be not only interviewing a marketing expert, but talking to 4 other entrepreneurs that need our help. So come back tomorrow and contribute and get involved. And if you want help yourself, our help is always free. You can sign up via thepurposefulproject.com and come on this broadcast yourself and get your questions answered by myself and wonderful people like Jess and David. So I'll see you there soon, hopefully. Take care.